Major Garrett, you had a big piece in National Journal, Garrett. You call it kind of a backdoor plan for Democrats because there's no question. I think the conventional wisdom is everybody thinks that the Democrats are going to lose control in the House. The Senate may be a little better news for them there, but it looks pretty bleak for them in the House. So do you think they can actually keep the House?
I don't think they can keep the House, and that's not my opinion. That's a review of the race-by-race polling data. Money raised so far, money available. Now, in some cases, races are tight where Democrats have more of their own money to spend. The candidates have outraised their Republican challenger. But these outside groups of Republicans have put up and stood up in the last 2 or 3 months are going to put their own money in those races, equalizing that money advantage. And the momentum and the energy, both Tea Party and otherwise, Republicans and independent voters mean more seats are up for grabs. Charlie Cook, who is related to National Journal, has 91 toss-up seats in the House. 84 of them are occupied by Democrats. When you look at a map like that and the numbers that way, remember, Republicans only need net 39 seats to regain control of the House. The numbers work against Democrats across the board. But that doesn't mean there are not targets of opportunity. And if the Democrats, by some low-level miracle, hold the House, it will be because they have picked up Republican seats where Republicans were not paying attention.
Well, where are the Republican seats?
They're not that many, but a couple I can say, and Republicans and Democrats agree, have pretty much already been put in the Democratic column. Delaware is that large seat formerly held by Mike Castle, who was defeated in that Republican senatorial primary by Christine O'Donnell. The Democrats going to win that seat. Louisiana's 2nd congressional district, kind of an unusual Republican win over a scandal-tainted William Jefferson, a Democrat. That seat is probably going to go back to the Democrats. But let's look at a seat that Democrats thought a couple of 3 months ago would be a sure win for them. Hawaii's 1st congressional district.
Oh, really?
That race is very competitive, very tight. They haven't put that away yet. That's a bad sign for Democrats. There are other opportunities. Illinois' 10th congressional district, Mark Kirk is running for the Senate. That's an open seat. The Democrats running 11 to 10 points ahead there. That's a target of opportunity. Same thing in California 3, a very tight race. Dan Lundgren is a very familiar figure in Republican Party politics. He survived in 2008, the toughest race he's ever had. But this year he's got another tough race against a self-funding Indian-American first-generation physician there, a Democrat. Democrats think they could pick that seat up there. There's about 7 seats Democrats think they could pick up if everything breaks their way, and they're going to need every single one of those seats to hold on.
Well, let's just talk a little bit about what the president's talking about out on the campaign trail. Here's part of what he said at one rally this weekend.
I understand that some of you, when you think back, election night looks so good. Inauguration day, Beyonce was singing, and Bono was up there. Everybody had a good feeling.
Well, of course, that
everybody
brings
had a good
up the
feeling.
question.
Now what? Yeah.
What happened to Barack Obama? Every midterm election, you generally think that the party that's in the White House is probably going to lose some seats.
Sure.
In the Congress. That's just sort of the way it always is. But it looks really bad for Democrats, and I think a lot of Democrats think it's because of Barack Obama.
The numbers were against Democrats to begin with. I wrote a piece 2 weeks ago for National Journal where Chris Van Hollen, in February of 2009, this is just a couple of weeks after the massive inauguration the president just referred to there, telling Democrats we could lose 30 seats in the next election just because there were so many swing districts that Democrats had won in 2006 and 2008 that Republicans were going to charge back and try to get. So the Democrats knew the numbers were against them. But if the Republicans win 60 seats in this, more than 50, take back the House by a substantial margin, then the X factor will be the president, his agenda, and his inability to tell and communicate to the country what he's been doing and why. The president conceded that in this very lengthy interview with New York Times Sunday Magazine and Peter Baker, who we both know very well, saying, maybe my campaign rhetoric was a bit over the top. Maybe promising all these grand things and suggesting they could be done, if not instantaneously, with a lot less difficulty than we've encountered, was a bit much. The other problem for the president, I think, is the country's still getting used to and sorting through its first African-American president. We don't like to talk about that in public very often, but America's still growing accustomed to this. And it's the people who thought maybe I'll give this guy a chance are having buyer's remorse more rapidly, I think, on a policy and a politics basis than the White House ever anticipated. They thought those votes for the president were locked in and golden for the midterms and the reelect. And they've discovered, to their dismay, that they were not.
Well, the interesting thing to me is the disaffection on the left side of his own party. Young people seem sort of disappointed. I think the expectations were so high, he said, I'm going to change things, and I think many of them think that, frankly, he just didn't.
3 big issues stick out on the left. 2 could be anticipated, and 1 could not. The one that could not was health care and the public option suddenly becoming the definitional yes or no if you support the president and what he accomplished. Because there's no public option, the left is antagonized and aggrieved. Well, the president never ran on public option. He never promised that. That became sort of an add-on as the health care debate became elongated. The White House could not foresee that one. But on Guantanamo Bay and gays in the military, meaning don't ask, don't tell, the president campaigned on both, made hard and fast promises on both, and both are still undelivered. Those are 2 areas where the White House says, look, we can't get everywhere. We've tried our best. But on don't ask, don't tell, when the president says, as he did last week, I want an orderly process and Congress needs to weigh in, it'll be a much more Republican Congress next year. That's basically telling those who care about that issue, forget about it. I'm not here to help you because I'm going to turn it over to Congress. And everyone knows the Congress to come is going to be far more hostile on that issue than the Congress the president was dealing with.
All right, Major Garrett, well, thanks a lot for some very good reporting. Your piece in the National Journal is very incisive, brings up a lot of stuff nobody's talked about.
Thank you, Paul.
So thanks a lot.